Shedeur Sanders has never been the type to respond to criticism with words. While analysts fill broadcast segments with doubt and draft boards get reshuffled by people sitting comfortably behind desks, Sanders has been doing something far more productive. He has been building. The footage that recently dropped from his personal training setup has sent shockwaves across NFL social media, and for anyone who understands what elite quarterback preparation actually looks like, the reaction makes complete sense. This is not a player who is rattled by the noise. This is a player who has converted the noise into fuel, and the fire burning inside that basement right now is one the entire NFL world needs to pay attention to. The basement has always carried significance for Shedeur Sanders. From the early days of his career at Jackson State through his explosive run at Colorado and now into the NFL, that personal training space has represented something deeper than just a workout room. It has been the physical symbol of what this quarterback does when no one requires him to be there, when there are no cameras, no scouts, no combine evaluators watching from clipboards. It has been the place where the real version of preparation happens, and now it has been taken to an entirely new level. The turf is officially installed. The moment that footage hit the internet, it traveled fast, because people who have followed this quarterback's journey recognized immediately what they were looking at. This is not a quarterback who shows up to a combine workout, runs through a few scripted drills, waves to the crowd, and considers that preparation. Shedeur Sanders has converted his personal space into a fully professional training environment, turf laid down, weights ready, every corner of that basement designed for one singular purpose. The timing of this matters enormously. This is the off-season. This is the period when most players decompress, travel, and let the calendar drift toward training camp. Shedeur is not doing any of that. He is grinding in February and March, months before a single official whistle blows. That level of commitment at that stage of the calendar is not standard. It is exceptional, and the people inside his circle know it better than anyone. One of the most important voices in Shedeur's corner is Boog, the mentor and management figure who has been with him throughout the entire Colorado chapter and into the NFL transition. When asked about all the outside noise surrounding Shedeur, about the media negativity, the manufactured narratives, and the relentless doubt being pushed into the public conversation, Boog's response was clear and direct: the ball is in their hands now. Control what you can control. Brace yourself. That message captures the entire posture of the Sanders camp heading into 2026. There is no defensiveness. There is no engagement with the critics. There is only preparation, and the understanding that when the season starts, the results will do every bit of the talking that needs to happen. Now, let's address what has been happening in the media landscape surrounding Shedeur Sanders, because it has been one of the most aggressive and sustained campaigns of skepticism directed at a young NFL quarterback in recent memory. Names like Mary Kay Cabot, Anthony Lima, Mel Kiper, and Emmanuel Acho have been running what can only be accurately described as an anybody but Shedeur operation. Every single week, a new narrative surfaces. A new quarterback gets floated as a better option. A new reason gets manufactured for why Shedeur Sanders supposedly cannot be the answer for the Cleveland Browns. And every single week, without exception, Shedeur responds the same way. He puts his head down and he works. He does not call press conferences to address critics. He does not go on podcasts to defend his film. He does not post responses on social media aimed at analysts who have clearly not done their homework. He trains. The brutal reality that these media figures cannot seem to process is a simple one. You cannot argue someone into being worse than they actually are. You cannot selectively pull footage from games where a quarterback had zero offensive line protection, stack those clips up as evidence of ceiling limitations, and manufacture a reality that the actual film does not support. The work that Shedeur is putting in right now, those early mornings in that basement, the footwork repetitions, the throws he is refining months before anyone outside his inner circle sees a single clip, that work is real and it is happening. When the 2026 season starts, there will be nowhere to hide for anyone who spent the better part of an entire off-season trying to push him out of the conversation. The contrast between what Shedeur Sanders is doing and what these analysts are doing could not be more stark. He is building. They are talking. In professional football, builders have always beaten talkers. The story of Shedeur Sanders heading into 2026 is not just about one quarterback working hard in a basement. It is about an organizational realignment happening around him that the mainstream media has either missed entirely or chosen not to acknowledge. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken has become one of the most critical figures in this transformation, and the moves being made around Shedeur are not quiet or subtle. Players and personnel who were not aligned with the vision for what this offense needed to become have been moved out. The commitment from Todd Monken to building a system specifically designed around Shedeur's strengths is not theoretical, it is showing up in real roster decisions and real structural changes that have people inside the league taking notice. What that organizational alignment means for Shedeur's development as a quarterback is significant. When you have a coordinator who is not simply drawing up plays on a whiteboard but is actively clearing every internal obstacle that could slow down a young quarterback's progression, that reflects a level of institutional commitment most young quarterbacks never receive. The majority of first- and second-year quarterbacks in the NFL have to fight the system at the same time they are fighting opposing defenses. Shedeur Sanders is being given something genuinely rare, a clear runway. And that is precisely what has certain analysts shifting uncomfortably in their chairs, because they built their entire narratives on the assumption that organizational dysfunction would continue suppressing Shedeur's potential. What is actually happening in Cleveland is the opposite. The dysfunction is being cleaned out. The alignment is being constructed. Todd Monken is not functioning as just a coordinator right now. He is functioning as an architect, and what he is building is going to surprise a significant portion of the NFL media world. Here is a fact that no honest football analyst can dispute. Shedeur Sanders has never played a single snap in his career, not at Jackson State, not at Colorado, not in his first year with the Browns, behind a legitimate, well-constructed offensive line. Not one. And yet, despite that persistent structural disadvantage at every level of his career, he has continued to make plays, display elite football IQ, and demonstrate pinpoint accuracy while operating under consistent pressure. The NFL has only ever seen a fraction of what this quarterback is capable of delivering on a weekly basis. The Cleveland Browns front office, led by Andrew Barry, clearly understands what is at stake and what is required to unlock the full version of this quarterback. The organization has committed over $70 million in free agency investment directed at the offensive line, because the people making decisions in that building recognize that giving Shedeur genuine pocket time is not a luxury item in the budget, it is the foundational necessity that changes everything else on offense. When you give an elite quarterback time to set his feet, work through his progressions, and deliver the football exactly where it needs to go without accounting for unblocked defenders every third snap, the entire offense transforms. Deep shots become available. Intermediate routes open up. Play action becomes a genuine weapon rather than a stylistic choice. Everything that separates a good quarterback from an elite one becomes amplified when real protection exists. The name Monroe Freeling is worth tracking closely as the upcoming draft approaches. Addressing the left tackle position through the draft, laid on top of the free agency investments already made along the offensive line, could give Shedeur Sanders something he has literally never had at any point in his football career, a legitimate wall. Real pocket time. The opportunity to operate as a full quarterback rather than a scrambler working around constant pressure. When that combination comes together, Shedeur at full potential, inside a system designed around his strengths, with a coordinator who has already cleared the internal obstacles, behind a rebuilt offensive line, every defense in the AFC should be concerned. Mel Kiper's most recent analysis deserves to be addressed directly, because it illustrates exactly how disconnected some mainstream NFL analysis has become from the actual situation on the ground in Cleveland. Kiper has been floating the name Ty Simpson in conversations about teams that need to address their quarterback situations, and he included the Cleveland Browns on that list. The Cleveland Browns. The team that already has Shedeur Sanders under contract, working in his basement, preparing for a full season with a rebuilt offense around him. Ty Simpson is a prospect. A projection. A collection of potential based on what evaluators hope he can become at the professional level. Shedeur Sanders is a professional quarterback who has already been tested under some of the most adverse conditions a young quarterback can face in this league and has come through those conditions with his confidence, his preparation, and his organizational trust fully intact. The fact that Kiper would place Ty Simpson and Shedeur Sanders in the same analytical conversation regarding the Browns' quarterback room is not evidence-based analysis. It is narrative construction. And it tells you everything you need to know about how certain media figures are approaching this situation, not from the film, not from the data, but from a predetermined conclusion working backward through selective evidence. Shedeur Sanders does not need Mel Kiper to correct the record. He does not need the bottom line ticker to update its opinion. He does not need Anthony Lima or Mary Kay Cabot or Emmanuel Archo to suddenly change their framing. The basement has turf. The ball is in his hand. The mind is locked on 2026. And by the time week 1 arrives, every take questioning his viability is going to be filed away in the long archive of predictions that never accounted for what the actual work was producing behind closed doors. Every piece of this story, the basement footage, Boog's message, Todd Monken's architectural work, Andrew Barry's $70 million offensive line investment, the draft positioning around Monroe Freeling, and the complete organizational reset happening in Cleveland, points to one conclusion. The NFL world has been so fixated on running narratives about Shedeur Sanders that it has missed what is physically being constructed around him in real time. He has survived every structural disadvantage that has been placed in his path. He has operated behind bad offensive lines at every level of his career. He has absorbed media hostility that most young quarterbacks never face at this volume or intensity. He has done all of that, and he is still standing, still preparing, still locked in, and for the first time in his entire football career, the pieces around him are actually being aligned to match the talent he has been displaying all along. The people who spent this offseason trying to convince the NFL world that Shedeur Sanders is replaceable, questionable, or anything less than a legitimate franchise cornerstone have had their moment to talk. The microphones have been theirs. The segments have run. The columns have been published. Now it is Shedeur's turn to respond, and he is going to respond the only way that has ever carried real weight in this league. On the field. In 2026. And the NFL is not ready for it. If you are following this Shedeur Sanders story and you know what is coming, hit that like button right now and make sure you subscribe to stay locked in on every development as this 2026 season builds, because the best of what Shedeur Sanders is capable of has not even started yet.